Replacing the tab navigation from ExNavigation with the Tab Navigator in React Navigation is one of my favorite transitions to do because it's saved a ton of code that I have to write in my application for the routing. So to do this, we'll go into the routes file that we've got, and then we need to import our Tab Navigator from React Navigation. A few other things we'll need to import. First off, we need to import React from React, because we'll be using JSX in this file. And then we also want to import an icon from React Native Vector Icons, and that's because that's what I'm using to actually render the icons in this application. Now if I scroll down to the bottom of my file, I can go ahead and actually start creating my new Tab Navigator. And we'll just call this tabs, and this is going to be Tab Navigator. Configuration is the same as it is for StackNavigation. So instead of the different screens, we'll just give our different tabs. So this one's going to be home. We're going to have our camera tab, and then finally we'll have our analytics tab. And inside of each of these, it'll get a screen, and that screen can be another navigator from React Navigation. So this will be Stack 1. This screen is going to be Stack 2, and then finally this screen is going to be Stack 3. Okay, so with that completed, we can now go ahead and actually start using these new tabs within our application. So if I go into my index file, which is the entry point for my application, I can import tabs from config/routes. Okay, and you can see I've got this error, so I'll go ahead and delete that tabs layout that I had to set up before. Save it, and you can see that down here we do have our tabs, and they work just like they did before. The label for the actual tab is not correct, and neither is the icon, so we'll update those. But before we do that, and this is my favorite part, we can actually go ahead and delete this tabs layout. So I'll go ahead and delete that, which is for this application was a bunch of code that just deleted, and I'm getting the same functionality for much, much less on my part. I actually get to delete another file as well, and that's going to be the tab icon. And that was what was actually displaying the tabs, or the tab icon in the previous version of the tabs. And since that's built into React Navigation, I don't have to worry about that anymore. So now let's go ahead and actually start setting up these different tabs. And to do that, I'll go into my routes file. And then inside of the Tab Navigator, we can actually set up some navigation options. And in here, to actually set things up for the tab bar, we'll give another object, and that's going to be tab bar, and we'll give it a label. That label is going to be home. All right, copy all of this. This one's going to be camera, and then finally, this one will be analytics. Save that, and now we can see down here that the actual labels are correct. Now we finally just need to set up the icon. And to do that, it's very simple. We just pass the icon key, and that's going to take a function. And inside of there, we can actually pull out the tint color. Okay, and now I'm going to display an icon. We'll give this one a name of iOS albums outline. Since the tabs are only shown on iOS, we'll only show the iOS versions. And then we'll give this a size of 32. And finally set the color. Let's close this. The color is going to be equal to this tint color that we are getting from the function here. So if I save this, okay, and we're getting an error, and I think that's because I imported from React Native Vector Icons incorrectly, and it is. You need to make sure you actually specify the icon pack you want to use. So in this case, I'm using Ion Icons. Save that, and we can see that we've now got the icon in this spot. So we can go ahead and do the same thing for each one of our tabs. Let's close this again, and in this case, this is going to be aperture, and then finally for analytics, we'll say iOS analytics -outline. Okay, we've got an error down here, and that's because I can't spell aperture. Save that. Okay, now we can see that we've got tabs with the icons with the appropriate labels on each one of our tabs. Okay, and with that, you can see just how simple it is to transition from the Tab Navigation in ExNavigation to the Tab Navigator in React Navigation.